no matter how much Boris Johnson tried to deny it, that in his words, he was trying to make sure that the UK didn't slip into Russia phobia, the Russia report keeps on continuing to be proven right. Now, for those of you who may not remember, or maybe it's the first time hearing about this, what exactly was the Russia report? Well, this was a report written by our security services looking at the impact and influence that Russia was trying to put on our, not only our democracy, but even in some cases our elected leaders. You've also got to remember at one point, there used to be, prior to the invasion of Ukraine, a, shall we say, public-ish, private-ish, more grouping called the Conservative Friends of Russia, who were, well, a group of conservatives who used to regularly get, Russian oligarchs round the table coming to see them. And, they would, again, reportedly give them a bit of money, for the Conservative Party. So obviously it was not in, well, the Conservatives' interest to really expand upon the Russia report or, take into any of the stuff that the Russia report, recommended. However, now, in the light of the UK riots, where we are looking at what went on, we know that there was a lot of misinformation. And one of the sources that we know responsible for this misinformation was a website called Channel 3 News, which was masquerading as an American news source, which, again, we found out had links to Russia, but also the number of Russian bot farms that were reportedly now in the mix, helping to spread, helping to disseminate this disinformation that was going around. So once again, we are now left to confront with the fact that we have to, take the threat that Russia is putting up against us, not just us, but all of Western Europe at this point, by continually trying to destabilize or, in this case, take advantage of destabilization by trying to sort of feed the fire. This is something and a threat we should take seriously. And I do have hope that, the Labour Party is going to sort of do and sort of tackle this. But we should, I think, be pushing for a revisiting, maybe even a redoing at this point, maybe even that, of the Russia report. I think it's more than justified, some of this stuff. So we're going to go over some of the comments made by an ex-MI6 ex-MI6 spy who was part of the involved in the dossier on Donald Trump. So I think we're going to go over some of his comments because he was in a recent Times Radio interview, and he had a lot to say about these and sort of Russia being involved in these riots. And once again, we should be looking at some of this stuff. We should be taking this seriously when it comes to, who is involved. Well, part of that path, once again, leads to Russia's doorstep. We should not really be surprised about this, but there you go. So before we do go diving into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, there's an station link called Buy Me Coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the Pony Club down below as well. So let's crack on then into this. So far-right disorder now had a clear Russian involvement, says ex-MI6 spy. Again, going through some of these comments that he's saying a moment, yeah, we should be taking this seriously. This is something we should be looking at, not just going after, some of the people involved, but also, as he mentioned in a moment, looking at what involvement, who is tied to who. Because the Byline Times did also a very interesting investigation recently about told Tommy 10 names involvement with the Russians as well. So probably something else we might want to look into. But anyway, so the guy who's here was again Christopher Steele, and he said that the security officials will be looking very carefully at people now encouraging the anti-immigration riots over the past fortnight. Speaking to the Times Radio, Steele said, "It is now clear that there is some Russian involvement. To the degree which that's happened and the effectiveness, I think, is still out for question. I mean, when you look at the original disinformation that was surrounding the Southport killings, that does seem to have come from a Russian linked website." So the origin of that false claim about the Southport stabbing perpetrator appears to be an outlet called Channel 3 Now, which is now styled to resemble a mainstream American news outlet and channel that now mixes potentially AI-generated US and UK news material. So again, something we should be really, really looking at on that. Steele also said, "We'll be looking. The security services will be looking very carefully at the instigators of these activities, including people like Tommy Robinson, even conveniently Nigel Farage, who incidentally said that they were being misinformed by the government about Southport." So obviously, looking at some of these things, finding out what they're doing, and really looking at this. And I do hope the security officials do look at this, as they would be. But he also went to say this. The officials would also be looking at things like their travel movements, who they've been in touch with, monetary transfers, and so on, because that will reveal or not, as their case may be, now a pattern of behavior which can lead to some conclusions about to the degree to which Russia has been interfering in this situation. When asked whether MI6 would be looking at Farage's movements and messengers, Steele said the security services would require warrants, obviously, to do some of that. But I think essentially looking at communications, looking at travel, looking at financial transfers is at the heart of this problem. And if we're going to get to the bottom of it, certainly the government should be doing those things now in terms of an investigation. Now, whether Nigel Farage is in the end is defined as an instigator of this, I don't know. So hopefully, again, these things do get looked into. Like I say, the Byline Times did a really good article looking at those, who's old Tommy 10 names being talking to, who's his interesting links, and who's he's being funded by. And he gets funded by a lot of these hard far right money. And for someone who very recently claimed bankruptcy but now seems to be staying in a 5-star resort, well, very suspicious indeed, isn't it? So as always, let me know what you think down below, but I do think there is more than enough reason and justification to reopen the Russia report, re-look back into this, maybe even commission a new Russia report. Obviously, that will take time, but maybe even by doing that, you can go back, revisit the Russia report, have a look at its recommendations, think about what you can take from that previous report and put in place. Hopefully, again, the security services do go look into, people like, Tommy Robinson and etc. And see, where are they getting their money from? What were all these, interesting, things they were doing? So will be interesting to see what happens on that front. And of course, I will keep an eye out on whether I open for that and see what happens. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, there are links down below: my Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.